So we're going to get going, and I want to welcome Colette Spence, who's here from Spence Accounting. I don't know if many of you were on a webinar that Shane did a couple of weeks ago about how not to be the bottleneck in your firm. And that's something that Colette's really been working on recently, and trying to get past that issue of trying to grow your firm without actually taking on a huge workload yourself. So I think it's going to be a really interesting discussion. So Colette, if you can just first of all tell us a little bit about you and your firm.
Yeah, sure. I'm Colette. So I established Spence Accounting back in 2007. So we have been going now for nearly 20 years, which is a bit scary. I don't know how that's happened. And in relation to sort of our initial goals, so when I first started up the business, and I'm sure this will resonate with many of you, I just wanted to work part-time, provide some valuable service to clients to help them have a good accountancy services. But that quickly changed. After nearly 20 years, both the business and my ambitions have constantly changed. And today our focus is all around helping business owners build businesses that work for them. So it's not just about the financials, but personal goals too. So what we tend to do is take a holistic approach with helping clients. We create businesses that support the lifestyle that they envisioned when they first started out, or if they've been trading for a long time, they making sure that their business is adapted to their lifestyle changes. But compliance obviously is still a big part of what we do. And our biggest focus at the moment is supporting clients through growth by helping them to understand their numbers and use that information to make better decisions. So that's kind of what we're trying to do as a business and our goals. From a personal point of view, I'm a mum of three. So as well as running the business, I still have all the usual home running around and craziness to deal with as well.
Lots going on, basically.
Yes, absolutely. Never enough hours in the day.
Yeah. So you're sort of actively growing your business, aren't you? So what made you decide to do that and move on from that initial, much kind of smaller goal?
The inability to say no was probably the first thing.
Okay.
Because yeah, my ambition was never to initially have this big business that we've got now, and the business over time has been larger, been smaller. We now have two sites, so we have a site in Lincoln and also one in Grimsby. But if you'd have asked me originally what my goals were, it wasn't anything like that at all. Um, when we reached each one of those milestones, so when we bought our first office premises, moved the staff out of my home into a proper work premises, I was thought, yeah, this is it. Then we decided to move home and we now live over towards Cleethorpes and Grimsby. And that changed the goalpost again for us. And I was traveling every day back and forth to Lincoln, which was an hour's journey there and back. And I realized I needed another base here in Grimsby. So then I was like, okay, let's get an office space in Grimsby. And if we're going to have an office space in Grimsby for me to work from, then we need to have and generate clients here. And I thought it
Right.
would take me sort of 3, 4 years. And the next thing you know, we're here. Um, it's done. And I think in business and in growth, you set your sights, and sometimes you think it's going to take you a little while to achieve it, but sometimes those things just come a little bit sooner. So, yes, we're still growing. Our big picture probably is to be a national based business, not just sort of a regional based business. So, that's kind of what we're working slowly towards.
Okay, great.
So what have you found were the challenges with sort of those sort of ideas and growth?
Not everybody always keeping up, I think. So, yes. So some of my challenges were finding the right people to speak with. And also understanding what I wanted from the business. as much as where the business was leading me. So from the business growth side of things, it was understanding where I wanted to take it, but relaying that to what we're doing within the business. So with clients, for example, we were always having conversations with them because they felt frustrated because they didn't understand their numbers. So we made sure that the services that we were offering actually helped those clients to achieve that. So sometimes it's not always about just business growth. Sometimes it is also about personal growth, not just for us as for me as an individual, but also for our clients as well. So, going back to our goals, what's actually important to us? Sometimes it's making time with the family. So, I found that other business coaches didn't always give people the right advice. I remember one business coach in particular saying to me, what is it that you want? You need 100 things on your bucket list. And I really couldn't think about 10, um, because having things weren't important to me. So figuring out what is important to you has probably been one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah, I mean, my next question was, what was the first thing you did? But I think you've probably just answered that, really.
But I've got a question, sorry, in there, but you've just mentioned that your business has evolved massively over these
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah.
And you've said, and there must have been sort of maybe pivot points in that journey where you had to make some really big decisions. That I mean, most people are very frightened of these change and these decisions. So how did you cope with that?
I, so yes, I had some incredibly serious decisions. Um, And just to give you one of them, so when I started the business in 2007, I didn't have children. So in 2013, I had my first son. I had about 2 weeks maternity leave and then went straight back to work because I didn't organise it very well because he was born in October. In 2016, I had twins. So also still working, had to have a little bit longer off work. But at the same time, an opportunity came to me where I could purchase a block of fees. So bearing in mind, I gave birth to twins in 2016. In 2017, I agreed a deal to take on another accountant's practice who was a manual based paper form because I thought, oh, this is a great opportunity. Um, and I think sometimes you go into these things because you want to be challenged. So it is scary, really scary. But I think you have to go into these things with an open mind. Now, this particular purchase of a block of fees that we did was probably one of the most challenging things I ever faced. Because he was a proper manual record, nothing was computerized. So he wanted to sell his practice before making tax digital was coming into place because he just didn't have the capacity to deal with it. And you can imagine the types of clients that he was dealing with. And then transition process was horrendous from an AML point of view. There was no letters of engagement. There was nothing that was computerized. And it was hugely challenging. And at times I wanted to give up. Um, but I couldn't give up. Uh, I wanted to not fail, even though I felt I'd failed to some degree, because I hadn't done the due diligence that I probably should have done. Actually, by realizing what I'd done wrong, would actually help me in terms of making those decisions. And Anthony's just asked, would I buy a block of fees again?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, I would. But my eyes are completely wide open now. And the questions that I would ask and the things that I would do would be completely different. But at that time, I just thought, yeah, why not? Let's just do this.
Amazing. Anthony's also asked, how did you find the right people? Was that the right team, I presume? I don't know if you can just clarify that. Yeah. Um, And I did mean to say, I always forget this. If you have got any questions, yeah, just type them into the chat or put them in the Q&A and we'll deal with them as we go along, I think.
I think if it's Anthony, if it's about team, you're always finding the right team. So I think one of the biggest things that I've learnt whilst being and running my own business um, is that people are part of your team when they're engaged. But as soon as they have made that decision that they want to move on for whatever reason, you have to let them go. So therefore, your team is constantly evolving. So you can't always put your team or give your team things to do that and expect them to do it in exactly the same way that you would, but actually having a good team network where they can support each other is really important. So back then I thought I had that great team, but quite a lot of those people have actually already moved on quite shortly after, because actually that transition change of bringing all those clients on board made some people go, I don't want to do this. And that then made us have to go back down to the recruitment process. But I'm a great believer in things happen for a reason. People move on. We then found new people. And actually, that was what we then needed at that point in time to help propel us forward to the next stage.
Yeah, right.
It's a really healthy way of seeing it, because most people, they think, I've invested all this time and energy in a new team member, and then, a few years later they want to move on. They can get quite cross about that idea, can't they? But actually, you have to see yourself as part of your team's career path, don't you? Not just, you know.
Absolutely. I think that is really important. And especially if you're employing younger people too, you can't expect them to stay with you for the rest of their life. People don't do that anymore. So I always see that the investment from our point of view, if you look at it as a 2 to 3, maybe 4 year investment, team stays with you. Most people stay with you at least for 2 to 4 years. Sometimes you have people that go a little bit sooner. But then they probably weren't the right choice in the beginning anyway. And we have had some team members who, and still have team members with us. One member of staff has been with us for 13 years, another one for 9 years. So it's not necessarily just about what we're doing right or wrong. It's about whether what we offer fits with the team member.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay. So I don't know. We were going to divide up the questions between us, but I think we've gone a bit off-piste already. Um,
Okay. Well,
so yeah, go on,
go on.
Emma.
Go on. Well, I think, it's how do you protect your time so you're not pulled into everything, and what have you learned from the times when you haven't quite managed to switch off properly?
So I think the first and the biggest lesson is actually accepting that you cannot do everything yourself and not everything has to be done by you. The sooner that you accept that reality, the better it is for you, because the sooner you can actually move on to other things. So, one of the things I really do to protect my time is actually diarize everything that I do. Even the small tasks. So every week I have different appointments that are permanently in there that are recurring, so I can make sure that the work that needs to get done gets done. I book time in the diary every single week to work on the business, not just be working in it, to make sure that I'm moving things forward. So looking at new ideas, new software, systems and procedures. We also have weekly meetings scheduled with every single member of staff. Now, these meetings are hour-long meetings. These are 15-minute catch-up sessions with the team member. But what that does, it brings everything in into that point, as opposed to constant interruptions throughout the rest of the week. So that really, really helps. Um, Also think about when are you at your best during the day. So for me, I am better at focusing on larger tasks first thing in the morning. So the way that I'll organize my work is do the bigger jobs in the morning that need my attention and focus. In the afternoon, that might be when I do my team workflow updates, client meetings, anything that's not too mentally taxing, but obviously still important and priority. So just trying to balance everything as best as you can, but also not beating yourself up if you don't do everything that you want to do. Tomorrow is a new day, next week is a new week. So just keep trying, just keep moving forward.
Very good. Anthony's also put another question in. Isn't it much cheaper to grow organically through one by one client acquisitions and being able to vet and price each client, or did plenty of those you acquired stay with you and accept increased prices?
Okay, so in terms of acquisitions, so we've always done both. So we've done two acquisitions in my time. One was a really small one. He was retiring financial advisor. That was easy. And it came over and most of those clients stayed. The second big one that I did back in 2017, um, the way that we structured it meant that we only paid out for what we had on a month by month basis. So if the clients didn't come over to us, we didn't pay anything, any fees to the outgoing accountant, which actually meant that it we got that business quite easily. Now, the retention of those clients, in the first year, we retained about 75% of that client base. The second year was 50%. Now, one of the things that I probably learned from the acquisition process was looking at the age of the clients. And what I mean by that was my client was retiring. A lot of his clients were of a similar age and also retiring. So it wasn't um, necessarily that those clients left because they didn't like what we did, although some of them did. It was actually their business was naturally coming to an end as well. So, but those clients, when they came on board and did engage with us, what they then did was generate more business for us because actually they saw the value in what we were doing. So, yes, it was a timely process, but it meant that we could speed up that growth process. It helped with our own internal systems and procedures. So, from a growth process, that helped us, which then meant when we were taking on more clients, we had a better structure and system in place to onboard those new clients. So, it in the end for us, actually, we won out of the acquisition most definitely, as opposed to losing out of it. Um, Rose said about what do I do to keep what software do I use to keep everything diarized? We use Office 365, so all of our systems are based on that. So I simply use the Outlook calendar function that's linked with my mobile phone. All of my other systems share the diary with the whole team so they have access to it and they know what's happening um, when and where.
Brilliant. Thank you. Um, so as the firm owner, obviously you can have a very heavy mental workload, not just your actual work. So how do you deal with that? And without feeling that you've got to personally resolve every problem?
I think it's really about having a strong support network, and there have been times that I've really struggled. I've had to have counselling, both from a personal perspective, and a business perspective. And it's having somebody who can be a sounding board for you, just so you can offload. Now, I also have a really good business support network. So I've been in business quite a long time, which means that as you go along, you collect people, in the nicest possible sense. So there are certain people that you know that you can discuss certain things with, and other people obviously you wouldn't. So it's being able to pick on and pull and draw on those people when you need to. Although I have a really good network at home and family, they don't always understand what it's like to run a business. The amount of times that my mum has said, "Oh, you do work too hard. Why don't you just go get a normal job?" And it that isn't what I want to do. So yes, it's a challenge, and I've struggled from time to time, but sort of using those networks has been really, really supportive. The coaching from AVN. So I've tried different business coaches, but actually the team at AVN have been really helpful because you have that better understanding from an accounting point of view and that knowledge of our business. It makes it easier to talk through things. Now, some of the things that we're talking through might be about strategizing. It doesn't mean that I'm going to take on those responsibilities, but what it does is allow me to put it in some order in my head so that I can go, right, if I pass that on and delegate that to this team member, they can then do it. Or actually, that's not important right now at all, and we can put the idea to one side. So it's just putting what's in your head into an order so that you can work through it. And when I'm really, really stressed, and that it does happen, I have a diary next to my bed. Because it always happens just as you go trying to go to sleep, you can't switch your brain off. Where I can write down my thoughts and feelings, what was good about the day. I think sometimes we focus quite a lot on negativity, but sometimes focusing on what's positive, even if it's small during the day, can
Yeah,
make you just feel that little bit better. So lots of little strategies just to help move you forward.
that's
That's a
great.
really great idea because I
Yeah.
think people do focus on the negative and then you don't sleep well. Whereas if you can find at least one positive thing, um, what brought you joy today? And it can be the slightest thing, can't it? Sometimes it can just be your child giving you a hug, and you think, oh, that was
Yeah.
nice. You know,
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, yeah, sometimes you have to do little things for yourself. So it could be, I actually had a really nice bath.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just read a book. Read a few pages of a book. Whatever it is that you need to do to calm your soul, I think is quite important.
Absolutely.
Mm. So how do you decide which tasks
Mhm.
need to be done by you and which tasks can be delegated?
Ugh, this is hard. So, I think delegation is ultimately about developing your staff team. So, I think w- I always see delegation and tasks as monkeys. So this came from an old boss of mine. He always used to say, if you picked up another monkey on your shoulder, give me another monkey. So when people sort of pass me things to do, I always think of like monkeys. So, but I think when you're delegating, it's not, can this person do this, as in, are they already set for those skills? But actually, do they have something that they could be developed to be able to do that skill? So when we are delegating, I think you have to understand that the first time you give somebody something to do, it's not going to be done how you want it done straight away. They're going to come back to you with questions, they're going to have struggles to do it. Um, and your job is to keep going back to them, keep supporting them, to get to where they need to be to take on that extra task that will hopefully be a very um, ongoing task that they can take away from you. So little baby steps really helps with that delegation process. But I think having a good understanding of your team as an overarching thing, um, and understanding who could do what, even if they don't think it's something that they could do, you as their leader, the person that's taken them forward, going, I believe that you can do this. I think that's really important. And then that helps develop their confidence too. So I have a member of staff who hates speaking to people, but she's fantastic at it. But she's always nervous about doing it. So it's a constant reinforcement to say, you can do this. And she'll send me things that are absolutely fantastic. And I'll go, yes, do that. Or just a little tweak here. But if she wants, quite often she'll send me something back and go, "Can you just deal with this?" And I'll just go, "No, this is how you do it. Off you go. Come back to me if you have any questions."
Yeah, I think you have to do that, don't you? Otherwise, it all just ends up back on you again. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it is a constant battle with yourself because sometimes you're kind of like, gosh, it's just easier if I can do this. But if you always do that, you will never make progress.
Mm. Yeah.
So
So there's
I
a
think
question from Tracy. How many staff do you have now? Are they all full-time working in your offices? Are any home-based? Do you use timesheets or how do you know what they're doing or working on? Oh, and Emma's just put the link in. I don't know if anybody's seen it. I was trying to remember who wrote the book and I couldn't remember. It's the 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey.
I've
Um,
never read the book actually. So but yeah, that's interesting that there's even a
yeah,
book about it.
yeah.
So at one point we had 17 members of staff all based in Lincoln. This was before technology is the way it is now. When I'm talking about technology, I'm talking about the likes of Dext, all the AI stuff that you can use to actually process records much, much quickly. Now we have 10 members of staff that are based over the two offices. So we are fully cloud-based, which means that our staff can actually work from anywhere. However, we actively encourage them to work in the office. So we do not have any home-based workers. The reason that I bring them into the office is because it's important for their socialization. It's important for their training and development, not just for them as individuals, but from an accounting profession. If you are not working as part of a team, how can you train the next generation of accountants? You can't bring in a trainee to a business and then say you're based from home, because actually a lot of the training and skills that they learn is actually just by listening and being present in that open office environment. So for me, that is really, really important. It doesn't mean that we won't ever allow home working. There's certain circumstances where we will allow it, and we have, as I say, the ability to do it. But actually being in the office environment for us is really key for the team's mental health, well-being, training, development. We had one particular member of staff who, when we came back from COVID and brought everybody back into the office, she was like, I am far more productive at home. I get lots more done. And the reason that she got lots more done was because she never answered the telephone, had to deal with questions or queries from the rest of the team. But the rest of the team was struggling. Then when she came back into the office, she went, Colette, I now understand why you said what you said. And that development just kept going through the team. So, in relation to timesheets, we've actually just transitioned over to Engager recently. So, we were using KPM as a practice management suite, but it just wasn't doing what we needed. So we have moved over to Engager for managing all of our time logs and workflows. And in relation to understanding what the team are working on, that's where the weekly workflow meetings with the team are. So we developed a little spreadsheet where they keep up to date what they're doing. We know what they should be working on, which work should be scheduled in. But those 15 minutes, sometimes longer catch ups are what gives me the visibility of what's happening in the whole of the business. Yes, we are still using KPM for compliance because I do
Mm.
love the accounting and tax function
Yeah.
within KPM.
Brilliant. So I suppose talking about your team, that leads on to the next question, which was, how do you balance growth with your capacity? If you've got a certain number of team members who've got certain skills, how do you balance all that out?
It's a real challenge.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's one of those chicken and egg situations, which one comes first? So, in relation to operational capacity, some of it comes down to finances and making sure actually we've got enough money and enough clients to bring on a new member of staff, especially if you are taking on a big wage, extra wage bill. So one of the things that we probably look at before we even think about recruiting is actually the team capacity. Are we efficient in our team? So sometimes people go, I'm far too busy. I haven't got enough hours in the day. And then we have a look at what they do. And then we discover that actually they might be duplicating something somebody else is doing, or actually the way that they're doing something is not very efficient. And all of a sudden we sort of scrape back a little bit of time here and there. But then when we get to that true place of actually, we do now need another member of the team. My aim is to have about 50% of what we're looking for in relation to uh, their hours. So 50%. So if somebody, we're going to recruit somebody for 30 hours, for example, I need at least 15 hours worth of work every week to make sure that that person's going to be sustainable, because nobody is 100% efficient. The team are probably closest to 70 to 80% efficient. So if I know that I've got at least 50% capacity of work already there for them, or nearing that, then I know we're ready for that next member of staff. So that probably is the key point, really. And I think the other thing to be mindful of is, as the business owner, when you are sort of noticing that we're being stretched a little bit here, is not to dive in yourself straight away to sort of relieve that capacity. Yes, there are times that you need to go in and relieve that capacity, but you need to be taken out of those numbers. You're not that long-term support person. Short-term, fine. Long-term, you're out of the numbers. So when you know that you're at that point, that's the time that we recruit. I think also from a recruitment process as well, it's making sure you find the right person. So it's much easier to recruit a trainee, um, because we've got lots of people who want to come through, as opposed to find somebody who's already qualified and has the experience. They might be happy and comfortable in what they're doing, want to earn a lot more than I can afford to pay them, might want to work from home, and I'm saying, no, I want you in the office. So there's a lot of challenges when we go for the more senior roles. It doesn't mean that we can't find them. It just is a little bit more challenging to do. So I think also looking in the wider team to make sure that you give the staff that have been with you for a while opportunities to grow and develop if they want it, because not everybody wants it. So recruiting from in within for those higher posts and bringing in the trainees is always so a good way of managing that budget and cash flow for extra staff as well.
Yeah, great.
That's great. So obviously you had 20 years of growth. Okay. What have you found was the hardest part of the process? And what have you think is your biggest learning point from that?
So back in 2023, um, I ended up falling poorly. Um, And there was a couple of weeks where I actually was physically in hospital, and my team at the time were the ones that had to step up, and they weren't stepping up. They were messing around and doing things that they shouldn't do and taking shortcuts. And in the summer of 2023, I had 6 members of staff who left within a space of 8 weeks.
Oh, gosh.
And I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? And at the time, I was kind of like, do I give up? And then I became angry. You go through all the human emotions, and everything. And um, I decided, do you know what? I've worked too hard. I'm not giving up here. And I decided to grit my teeth, got on with it. We outsourced for a short while. So we outsourced the accounting services to India. Um, and basically, it wasn't 100% for us, but it was really useful. It was another learning curve. But I think even when I can't do this anymore, I'm doing this. And at that point, I wasn't doing it for my team. I was doing it for me because that is what I wanted to do. And that actually was a really pivotal point because now the way that I look at the business, yes, I want my team to be successful. And yes, I would love for them to be with me forever because it makes it so much easier. But actually, this is a business. And if I want to grow, I have to make those challenging decisions, uh, push myself, learn new things, try to not take it personally. That's probably one of the biggest challenges is not taking things to heart quite often. That's the hardest part for me because I really do take things personally. And just working through things for that growth and realizing that Rome wasn't built in a day. Sometimes you can progress really quickly. Sometimes you take a few steps back, but actually everything that you do helps you to get to the next stage. So, yeah, it's it's really difficult, I think, when you're faced with those challenges to kind of decide I'm still going to go. And I think when you've achieved some of your goals, so one of my goals was I want to own my own premises, and I had a plan for 5 years. I received it, I did it in two. Then I was like, oh crap, what do I do now? And then I was like, I don't know what I want. So, and I think as a business owner, that, that's where the evolving things come from. You can have loads of stuff, you can have nice cars, you can have nice houses, yeah. But what is actually fundamentally important to you is actually being able to go for a walk in the morning, play golf, having breakfast with your family. What is the thing that actually wants you to get up every single day and do to help then you go and do your job and generate more business and anything else that you need to do. So I think taking that deep look inside is really, really important.
Yeah, Holly's just put, Colette, you are amazing.
Oh, thank you, Holly.
I agree. I think that I had
I,
to be as honest as that because that
yeah,
is a big thing to look
yeah,
into inside yourself.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think it has been really challenging. There's been times that I've been going, oh my God, I can't believe this. Everything's fantastic. And then there's been times that I've been on my knees and going, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? But I think you just got to keep going. And I've had some amazing people around me that have supported me through those difficult times as well. Lots of wine helped, lots of chocolate.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
James has just put, we try and work with just a little more capacity than work available for service level needs, and it allows you to accelerate the time that work is done. So you're not constantly working to a filing deadline. And that's a
Yeah.
good way of doing it.
Yeah. One of the things we've introduced this year, actually, James, is we've pre-programmed client work in. This is the first year that we've done it. Um, so that's actually allowed us to see our capacity in a different level. So what I mean by that is we know our clients are creatures of habit, so we know roughly when clients' records are going to come into us. So if you know when that is going to be, rather than booking the work in when it comes in, we've actually taken a bit more proactive approach and actually book the client records in before they come in, knowing that they will be in around that point. And then when the client's work is done sooner and that expectation is met a little bit quicker, actually gives us bonus and brownie points with the team. And when you're planning your work program for the year, instead of working to the deadlines, you're way ahead of it. So we have very, very few.
Yeah, Anthony's asking who managed the outsourcing teething, and he also agrees with Holly.
The outsourced teething, actually, at the time, there was nobody to manage it other than me. So
Okay.
yeah, because I didn't have the team at the time. So at the same time of recruiting new members of staff, because I had to, at that time, I was the one that was managing the outsourcing, and reviewing and checking and things like that. And now we did outsourcing for about 18 months. The first cycle that we went through for some of the clients, probably we weren't as strict with the review process because we just needed to get work out there. The second year, we actually found quite a lot of errors and actually decided that the amount of time we were spending reviewing and chasing the work from the outsourcing company didn't work for us, and that's why we decided to bring Morse team into the office. So Yogesh said about the 50% rule. So if I'm looking to recruit a new member of staff, I want to have at least enough work to provide them. Um, I need at least 50% of their time spent working. So if they work for me for 30 hours a week, I need at least 15 hours worth of client work all ready to go. Even if it's not quite started yet, knowing that it's coming through that new workflow pipeline.
Okay. Um, so yeah, one of the things that would be good to know is how's AVN helped you with all these developments and changes that you've made?
Uh, so we've been with AVN, I think, for about 18 months or so now. Um, And the reason that I decided to go over to ABN was because I was looking for something very specific. So, as I've already mentioned previously, I've used lots of business coaches. And the one thing that always frustrated me with business coaches was I always knew way more than what they did. So I didn't feel that they could support me in the way that I needed, or they would to start off with, but eventually we ended up in exactly the same position. So, one of the biggest benefits from AVN really has been sort of helping me organize, prioritize what needs attention instead of trying to focus on everything. So when you feel a little bit overwhelmed, having that support network with AVN to say, actually, I know you want to do that, but let's focus on this bit right now because that's the most important thing. That's probably one of the biggest thing. Also helping with the pricing strategy. We did have a system that we used to price our clients' work with, but it wasn't necessarily something we shared directly with the client. So having times up and having that working really well for us means that when we're having those one-on-one client meetings, we can go, right, this is your price, this is what you've chosen. And they can't argue with it because they've gone, yes, I want this, and I want this, and I want this. So when you go, well, here's the price, there's nowhere for them to go. So they either say yes or no. Um, Most of the time they say yes because that's what they've asked for. So that's made it so much more easier. Um, and also sort of helping us focus our business goals, trying to decide what it is that we want to achieve. Um, I know sometimes the progress that I've made with AVN, I sometimes feel like I'm not getting there. But actually, it's really nice to be reminded, yeah, but Colette, you did this, and this. And then I go, oh, okay then. Actually, it's not as bad as I thought. So, yeah, having that support and that structure and the direction and the confidence and just that reassurance has just been amazing.
That's great. That's great to hear. So Michael's asking, how do you deal with scope creep?
So, I'm assuming with scope creep, you mean client work taking longer and not being able to bill. Again, a massive challenge on this, but it's about training your team to identify when things are taking a little bit longer than they should. We're still working on it. We haven't got it completely figured out, but actually being really open and honest with clients, going, I'm sorry, but no, that is what you've agreed to. This is what's extra. Having those conversations from the very get-go with those clients. And I think that's one of the things that Time's Up allows you to do is have those real conversations, say, this is what your price is, but this covers this. But anything else, we will tell you if it's extra, because there may be things that is extra. So general questions and queries we always keep within the fee because there's always little questions. Anything big, so anything where we're going to have to spend a little time researching it, um, and it's more than a quick 5 minute question, we'll go back to the client and just say, look, we're going to have to charge you for this time. So what we've created is extra work orders within Engager so that we can easily send a quote out to a client. So the member of staff will go, I've picked up this year-end job and they haven't done their bookkeeping properly. Okay, let's have a quick look. Should they have done the bookkeeping? Yes, they should have done. Right. Are the transactions just one or two and it's quicker for us to fix it? No. Okay, let's go back to the client. Let's give them a realistic expectation of what needs to be done before we can even start that work. So and then the client goes, okay, then we'll give the client an opportunity. Do you want to do it? Do you want to fix this before we do it? We're going to charge you for it. If you want to fix it, I can give it you back and then hand it back over to us. Most of the clients will go, actually, do you know what? Can you just sort it out because I don't know what I'm doing? Um, and that's where we sort of generate those extra bits of income that you haven't planned for. Um, but it is very difficult. It is a constant challenge and a constant battle.
Yeah, I think that's, sorry, I think Michael was just clarifying what he meant about scope creep in there. Yeah. So Emma, do you want to go?
I was going to say, so in your eyes, what has already improved and what are you still working on to resolve?
Uh, okay.
Not
So,
everything, obviously.
yeah.
There's always
So,
something.
a lot of us, so we've made significant improvements to our systems and procedures and internal ways of working, and actually having the team understanding what that is. So we already had some systems and procedures. It wasn't that we didn't have them, but it was making sure that they were written down. We also use a bit of software called Scribe, which is fantastic if you want to copy what you're doing for training. So it actually you can carry out the task and it records what you're doing visually and show somebody where to click, and then you can go and edit it within a few minutes, and all of a sudden you've got a whole system and process that you can then send out to the team to and how to do that. So yeah, sort of looking at those things and improving those systems and procedures. One of the biggest things that we've done actually within the last 6 months is implementing Gager. That was from Emma's fantastic recommendation because at that time I was going, oh my God, I got this. What am I doing? And Emma went, well, have you looked at this? And actually, it was one of the best decisions that I'd made. It gives us a greater visibility of where time's being spent, where it's being lost. I can then share that data with our team to go, which I did last month, and I went, okay then, this little list of jobs here, we lost £10,000 on it. And the team's face goes, oh my God. So, and then we have a look at, why did we lose that money? And actually, quite often, it's down to the records not being of a good quality. And that's actually allowed us to go to the teams and say, right, what do you think you should have done about that? Um, I, and then they go, and actually, we should have had a conversation about that before we carried on with that work. And that is exactly right. So now they've seen that because of implementing Engager, and now we've got something where we can go, here you go, have a look. Um, they're kind of thinking more about what they're doing rather than just going, well, it took this amount of the same time last year, or not really thinking. So that's a really big one. And this other biggest one is actually our client onboarding process. Again, helped by Engager. Um, Onboarding new clients, letters of engagement, times up, all of that whole thing has meant that we can actually get new clients on board really quickly, able to inform clients of, hey, this is what's going to happen. So we're going to send you a million emails. Don't panic. We're here to support you. But you need to sign this stuff, otherwise I can't do anything for you. And then having all the reminders and things that goes out to them. So yeah, they are probably the biggest things that have helped us most definitely in the last 6 months.
Great. Anthony's saying yes, offering a fixed price but getting horrible records in, exclamation mark. Do you tell them it's simply going to cost more rather than take the hit? Oh,
It depends. Don't we all say that as accountant? It depends. It depends on what the original conversation was with the client. Now, if we'd have already told them, actually, this is what we're expecting, and then we didn't get it. So, for example, the records come in and the bank's not reconciled, and they said that they were fantastic. Actually, I would go back to the clients and say, I'm really sorry, but I can't work with your records because they're not reconciled. Um, and I would go back to them. Now, if they've come in and yeah, they're not great, it might be a first year for the client, as in first trading year, they need a little bit of support. What we will then do is do what we need to do, but then go back to the client. And when we have that meeting with them to sign the accounts off, go, do you know what? Your records weren't very good. This is what we would recommend for you to do. If you don't do this, we are going to charge you more money. And actually, we then renegotiate our fee for the following year. But we do review everybody's fees on an annual basis. So don't be scared to put your prices up. Our constant costs are going up and up and up. So if you're not reviewing what you're doing for that client on an annual basis, their business changes too, then you're losing money there as well. Um, no, we don't
mm,
charge for an onboarding fee. It's built into the package that we offer. So when we are pricing a fixed fee, I'm not just looking at the number of hours it's actually going to take me to prepare the year-end records or the tax work. I'm also adding in administration time, AML audit checks, all the extra bits and things that you have to do that form part of the overall package. So, yes, the year-end accounts might take you 8 hours, for example, to prepare. But actually, when you look at the scope of the whole of the work that you do for that client in the year, it might be more like a 10 to 11 hours. And that's what you should be working your prices based out on, not the actually, this is how long it took us.
great. Stefania is asking, do you take apprenticeship funds from the government and set up an apprenticeship system for your trainees?
Yes,
Oh,
we
right.
do. Yeah, so we do take trainees on, and in fact, we are in the process of recruiting an administration apprentice at this moment in time, and we have had apprentices in the past as well. So, um, having apprentices is a challenge. We've had quite a few. Uh, I think the shortest apprenticeship was 3 days.
Oh no.
Uh,
Okay.
So he decided that sitting behind a desk was not for him. So because he didn't realize that accounting was about sitting at a desk all day. Uh, but yes, with apprenticeships, we very much support it. Not only that, we also support the local college as well. So we are actively involved with T-level students at the Grimsby College near us, and we have a member of the college, one of the students who comes in once a week to gain work experience because they haven't got a clue about work experience. And it doesn't mean that they're going to come into the work environment with us. Um, but um, if they don't learn those soft skills, how are they ever going to get employed? So I think as an employer, actually, that's part of something that we should be doing. It's not just about making money, it's actually about trying to encourage and inspire the next generation too.
Fantastic.
Well said.
Yeah, yeah. So we've got only a few minutes left. So one final question is, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to do what you've been doing and working through?
So I think everybody wants change to happen quickly, and but I think what you have to understand is meaningful change takes time. So sometimes you'll make huge strides forwards, other times you'll feel like you're taking baby steps, but the important thing is to keep moving forward, no matter how fast or how slow. Um, you need to make sure that you have clear goals, stay focused on them. Um, you'll often achieve them a lot sooner than you think. So if you're staying focused, if you trying to do too many things at once, you'll never achieve any of those things. So, stay focused on just a couple of things. And I think one of the biggest things is don't be afraid of failure. Failure is part of the growth of your business. If something isn't working, adapt, pivot, try a different approach. None of us is going to get everything right the first time. I had this experience with KPM recently, and where we moved over to Engager, where we was using a time system on KPM. It wasn't working. My team were going, "We hate this, we hate this," and I was like, "Right, okay, this is what we're doing." And now they're really happy and over the moon. So sometimes we get it wrong. It doesn't matter that you got it wrong. What matters is that you've pivoted, made that change to make something positive again. And just remember that we are all human, and our ability to learn, just adjust, keep going, whatever we need to do is what drives us to be successful. So just keep being you, just keep working forward. You are going to achieve what you set yourself out to achieve.
Well,
Thank you.
fantastic, Colette. I mean, we are almost out of time, and I think it's been absolutely, I mean, a joy to hear everything you've done. And thank you for your honesty in all the challenges you've had as well. Because as we were having a chat beforehand, just other people hearing what you've been going through, I think is hugely helpful, isn't it? Everybody else has problems too and challenges. Yeah. So please do say thank you in the chat. I think that was amazing. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I just feel like I've done a lot of waffling, so
Not at
Not at
all.
all, not at all. No, it's been amazing. Yeah, yeah. Everybody's saying thank you. Inspirational. Yeah, absolutely. And it's been, yeah, thanks for being so open and honest. Very, very helpful.
no
So
problem.
I think we're out of time now. So thank you very much. Anthony says it's been excellent, really excellent. Indeed, it has. So thanks everybody for joining us. Thank you so much, Colette, for being here and sharing everything with us. And we will look forward to seeing everybody here next week. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.